Okay, hello, good evening. Welcome to the school committee meeting of November 20th, 2013. Our first item of business, our roll call vote. All members present except Dr. Quick, who will be here shortly. Thank you. Our first item would be the items for approval on our consent agenda.
Good evening, everyone. There are 4 items on our consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of October 23rd, regular session. Approval of an out-of-state field trip to Providence, Rhode Island for the North Course. Warrants G404, R205, R206, L08, L09, L10, L11, LL12, L13, L14, L15, L16, and warrants payroll 1023 and 11.6, FS6, Sped 3, 4, 5, 6, and CB1.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for items 1, 2, and 3, the first set of warrants of the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the first 3 items on the consent agenda.
Good, thank you. Do you have a second? Mrs. Burns? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Could we please have a motion to accept the payroll of 1023 and 11.6? Mr. Mullis?
Make a motion to accept the payroll for 1023 and 11/6,
Do we have a
2013.
second? Mrs. Broussard, thank you. All those in favor? 1, 2, 4 in favor, and 2 abstain, Mrs. Carroll and Mrs. Kane. Could we have a motion for food service number 6? Mrs. Burns?
I make a motion to approve for food service number 6.
Do we have a second? Mrs. Bonish, okay. All those in favor? 5 in favor, 1 abstain. Thank you, Mrs. Carroll. And then we have the motion for the SPED warrants. Do we have one of those? Mrs. Broussard?
I'll make a motion to approve the SPED warrants, SPED 03, SPED 04, SPED 05, SPED 06.
And CB. Yes, thank you. Do we have a second? Okay, second, Mrs. Carroll. All those in favor? 5 in favor and 1 abstain, Mrs. Burns. Okay, thank you. Our student representative report is, we're not going to have our student representative report tonight and December, and we're going to take up again in January for the student rep. Okay, and so we'll see Jessica in January. Our next item of business would be the superintendent's report.
3 items under the superintendent's report or personnel update. We had 4 resignations this past month. I've enclosed a report from Global Child. They have 38 students enrolled in Spanish. Unfortunately, again, I've asked them every year to try and see if we can get a Mandarin class going, but we can't seem to get enough people to sign up for it. But the program is going very well, and we're very happy with it. And lastly, just want to acknowledge and thank the Wilmington School Business Partnership, who awarded innovative teacher grants. In fact, we had a lovely breakfast at the Windsor Place this morning. Mary Ann Berry, who's one of the members of the School Business Partnership, works over there, and they invited us there for breakfast and awarded grants to Brenda Pandosi at Woburn Street, Michelle Kirchan West, Michelle McDonald from Woburn Street, Lois Nato, the high school, Kathy Macklis, for grant for the Wildwood and Beltwood, Bonnie Garassi from the west, Melanie Patterson from the Shawshene, and Heather Peachy from the north and west. So again, thank the business partnership for all they do for us.
There's quite a variety of events here that they've taken. Excellent. Any comments? No. Excellent. Oh, already. We're on to new business. How did that happen so fast?
This is enclosed in your packet tonight is the FY13 end of the year report. Every year I watch the Director of Administration and Finance toil over this report because it's an unbelievable time-consuming report that has to go to the state, but as always, he does an outstanding job. They don't have to vote this, do they? No.
Did anyone have any questions? My only question was, I have to see what it is about Mr. Ruggiero that he would love to do this. This is incredible. For the people who can't see it on the TV, it's so complex. It covers every single penny that's spent in the school system. And Mr. Ruggiero does a fabulous job on it every year. It's incredible. So we really appreciate your hard work on that. Thank you. Okay. Our next item of new business.
The Andover superintendent approached me last week about a proposal, MJ, a proposal that was brought forward by the STEAM Studio. It's a charter school proposal, and there's a hearing on it tomorrow at the Memorial Library from 4 to 6. The proposal calls for establishing a STEAM charter school in Andover that would take, they're estimating or guesstimating 5% of the students from Wilmington, from North Andover, from Lawrence, up to the 5 surrounding communities. I've been asked to speak at the hearing tomorrow night, and I will, and I'm going to speak against it, and I'll tell you why I'm speaking against it. I'm a proponent of charter schools for the right reasons, and I don't believe that this charter school is going to fill the gap that supposedly they say there is in Andover. Andover is a high-performing school. They've been working for 3 years on putting together a STEAM curriculum. They just got an override to support technology. We have been working with Andover in Burlington. In fact, there's a big workshop tomorrow in Burlington. Remember last year you approved the net text? Mm-hmm. So we're 3 communities working together to develop curriculum in place of textbooks. I believe that our new high school could compete with any charter school that talks about a STEAM curriculum. What I'll be saying tomorrow night is it's taken us 3 years to prepare to open this high school and to establish curriculum. They're going to actually be using curriculum from other places, and you don't have teacher ownership when it's not done by the teachers. The funding, as you all know, comes from our Chapter 70 aid. So for every student that went from Wilmington High to the charter school, we would lose Chapter 70 aid. And the last piece, I've talked about this a lot. I think that a high school is more than just an academic program. The extracurricular activities and athletics, band, orchestra really are, to me, part of the program. What they say in their proposal is that the kids can go back to their home schools to participate in those activities. But as you know, I mean, the clubs happen right after school. It's very, we have to honor home school children into any of our athletics and events, but we do not have to include students from charter schools into our events, and I don't know that I would recommend it. I think that the whole part of sports and music clubs all goes with being together, and this charter school, to me, just seems to want to isolate and separate. It's very interesting because it's a member of the school committee in Andover that's the author of this charter school, and I'm hoping that, and Marinelle McGrath, Dr. McGrath is hoping that the surrounding communities will support the fact that they don't think this is the right place for a charter school.
Does anyone have any questions, Mrs. Burns?
2 things. I have to find it to be a bit of hypocrisy that a member of Andover's school committee is actually supporting this, when I think their attention should be derived as to bettering their district, which is one of our main roles in improving student achievement within our district. So I find it quite hypocritical. I have to ask you, charter schools, do they fall under the same mandates that public schools are, or?
Nope, they do not. They do not have to hire licensed teachers. They do not take MCAS. They do not take PAC. The teachers do not have to be trained. They do take MCAS, I'm sorry. Teachers do not have to be trained in retail. They do not have to adopt the teacher evaluation system that we have. And they do not have to abide by a salary scale. And
they'd be taking that much more money out of
also
public school
send students back.
if they don't fit.
And the unfortunate piece, and it happens to all public schools, including us, is the students get sent back after October 1st. They don't send the money back. So.
Any other questions? I'm going to be joining Mrs. Benton there tomorrow afternoon, so we'll have a report back on it at our next meeting. But
Curious, who has to vote on it? Is it the town of Andover?
No,
or is it
it's
surrounding
unfortunately the
towns?
Department of Ed makes
Okay.
the decision.
So it has nothing to do with the town the town itself voting?
What I passed out were the bullets that Andover is going to present tomorrow night. But we would love to be able to say that Wilmington supports the Andover School Committee's recommendation against this charter school. If
oh, we could definitely do that.
In reading the literature that was sent with the packets as well, I'm a little perplexed with regards to, they say it's not a vocational school, yet it's very vocationally oriented. So is there something that I'm missing with regards to where that line is? Because they're set up like a vocational school.
it does sound it. I mean, and actually the requirements are less than what Andover and Wilmington have as far as languages and math and history and science. The other piece is there's no AP courses being offered, and the fact that they're not saying where it's going to be housed, and
But they're opening up next fall.
exactly.
It says on here, oh, sorry,
That's okay. So as a parent, why would I send my child there? Would I get forced to send my child
No,
there?
no, you can, no, but there are parents who will find that this sounds like a better deal because it's like, instead of a high school of 900, there's only going to be 450 kids in the high school, and they'll think that they're going to get, extra attention. I think, it's interesting because I was doing some research today, and the Stanford University Center for Research on Educational Outcomes did a survey in 2009 on all the charter schools in the state, and then they just did one recently in 2013, which just came out. And what's interesting is the results found that in Massachusetts, charter school students perform better if they were in the city or in urban areas or suburban western part of the state. But charter school students did not fare better than students who were educated in a town, i.e. Wilmington, Andover.
Mrs. Johnson?
There's another concern I have is similar to what Gloucester has just recently been experiencing. The charter school closed, and it's dispersed its students back into the public, and that transition alone has got to be, I mean, that's risking almost valuable assets by doing something about the viability. And I don't know if I glanced at it and looked into it as well as I'd like to, but was it funding that closed it, or was there
No, they
lack of parent support?
No, lack of oversight.
Oversight,
And
okay.
huge financial problems.
Okay, thank you.
Again, they don't have any rules they have to follow.
When you mentioned the sports, and is that a decision that each town would make separately based on, or, for example, if someone goes to a charter school and they want to play sports for the high school, is that a decision made by the town itself?
Local school boards.
Local-
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Just, I do know someone that took their kids out of a charter school because they were not allowed to play in high school sports after playing sports through the whole, and that's in a town near here as well, so.
And would you want us to take a vote?
Yeah. To support the Andover School Committee's position
Okay.
against the STEAM Studio Charter School.
I make a motion to support Andover's school committee's position to not
Again.
support the charter program that's being proposed.
Do we have a second? Mrs. Carroll? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, Linda, thank you.
Well, we'll report back at the next meeting what we're up to.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Should be interesting tomorrow then. Okay, public comments. You missed them.
You're just in time.
Look who made it.
Also, I'm not taking anything out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. We are going to have a subcommittee report on the superintendent search. And you know what, I think you and I have in the audience over there. And I'm going to let you take over this part of the meeting. And Mrs. Carroll and I will be members of the audience. If you want anyone else to sit here with you, your whole little team or whatever.
Looks like I'm lording over the castle here.
Just don't ask for the tiara.
Oh, come on now, that's what I was looking forward to. You don't want to join me? You don't want to join me? Okay, just to make sure we're all on the same page to this point, at our October 9th meeting, we took a vote to start the bidding process looking at search firms to help us with our search for a new superintendent. And we all voted unanimously on that. So the next step was for our subcommittee to send out proposals for requesting a formal proposal, request for bids. We sent those out to 3 organizations: the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, the New England School Development Council, and Future Management Resources, Inc. 2 weeks later, we received those proposals back, and our subcommittee has now had 2 meetings to review those. So that's where we're at. So I think all of you should have received an analysis that I shared with you, trying to compare apples to apples, if you will, and break down those proposals and what does it really mean for us, what is involved in the fee, and what services they're going to provide for us. Is there any questions before I get?
I have to just thank you for listing those out in such an organized form, because it was so much easier to compare pros and cons and
Great.
things of that sort. So I thank you for sending, making it so comprehensive.
Okay, great. And the other thing I will say, that even I had read it once myself and we had talked about it as a subcommittee, but even coming back to it and putting the information there and really looking at what is going to be provided in that fee was helpful. So I'm going to jump right ahead to the cost, because I think that's the bottom line for people, right? And then we'll go back to looking at what's involved in that fee. So I think it's page 4 or 5.
Excuse me, George, do you have any copies?
Extras? I
I'm
sure
sorry.
do.
I have to print mine out, I apologize.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I do have one question. I don't know
Sure.
whether I should ask now or after we talk about it, but, so, did you, or I don't know if you're waiting until it's chosen, but did you get any personal recommendations about these 3
We
places?
did.
You
We
did, you
and
went
that
to-
was part of how we chose who
Okay.
to send the request for proposals to.
Mhm.
The first one that you see listed on the far left, New England School Development Council, Tewksbury used them quite successfully. So we decided to take a look at how they might be able to assist us. Massachusetts Association of School Committee, we have a familiarity with them as a board ourselves, but Waltham used them very successfully. And then we also had some information on the third organization. So, if we jump to the cost, this is the interesting part. And I'll start with the most expensive and go down. So our friends at Future Management Resources, Inc. came out at the most expensive with a cost of $19,500 plus expenses Okay. New England School Development Council gave us a 20% affiliate discount from their base fee, but we would be looking at $12,992 plus a fixed cost on expenses. It's just under $4,000. Okay, and then because we are members of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, we'd be looking at a base rate of $9,500. They also give us a fixed cost on expenses of $2,500. Now, I will say, I think we might be able to manage expenses a little bit ourselves if there's things that we can do in-house, so that number we might be able to get down a little bit further. Mrs. Burns?
In reviewing the proposal that was sent, I just want to make sure I'm interpreting this all accurately, because
Sure.
I sort of want to be, for the amount of money, I want to get more bang for my buck. And I have to say, between NES, DEC, they seem to have a lot of warranties built in that's at no additional cost, which we might literally might find ourselves in, especially if if we do choose a superintendent and we have to go back to do a search, there's less that we have to pay again, where I'm finding with futures that if the candidate we choose leaves after a certain time, then there's additional fees on top of it.
Yes.
And I have to say that seems to be, I'm not a big gambler in life, that seems to be a safety net that I like in that respect. I don't like hitting costs, and I don't like, oh, well, it didn't work out, I'll do it again for, you know, it just doesn't, I'm just saying that as an opinion.
Sure.
And I just
Sure.
want to make sure if that's my interpretation is
I
accurate.
think that's an accurate interpretation. What we did as a subcommittee is we looked at this. We are going to make a recommendation with who we think we should go with. Obviously, that's up for discussion and a vote. I will tell you that let's set future management resources aside for now, just for discussion purposes, and let's look at what would be included in a base fee. Okay. So kind of for comparison, we broke it down by who the staff would be assisting us in our search, and then what do they do for us for that fee. Okay. We asked about New England School Development Council. Their staff is comprised of former superintendents, and they do propose a team of 3 people that would be working with us. Those folks are all former superintendents, so we thought that was kind of a plus on their side. Our folks at Massachusetts Association of School Committees, obviously we've got a comfort level with Mr. Gilbert. He's spoken before our group and has held our hands through numerous events, so we have a comfort level there. So basically what would happen, no matter which group we choose at this point, is they would come back to us, we'd start talking about what we think we need as a school committee. What do we think we'd like to see in a superintendent? Part of that would also involve reaching out to the community and getting their feedback. Whether we do that through live focus groups or whether we do it through some sort of electronic survey, that's to be determined. But all 3 of these folks have a means of making that happen for us. Okay. We'd come up with a timeline, and these are some things that Mike Gilbert shared with us when he was here back in September. So some of this should be somewhat familiar. Okay. From there, they're going to publicize our vacancy. I think probably the word is out, but they're really going to help us generate some enthusiasm and excitement, hopefully, for our opening.
By what measures?
They have a couple of different things. One is they'd send out some sort of brochure or informational letter. They will post that with their contacts and the different associations that they are involved in, other associations that they are involved in. Okay. We'd also have a conversation with either firm at some point about advertisement, and that is where things can also get expensive, as we're all aware. But that was a decision that we'd have to make on where we'd get our biggest bang for our buck. Okay.
Does do any of these fees include advertising?
Yes, if you look at New England School Development Council, part of what's included in their fee is some of the online advertising. Yeah, everybody else puts it as a separate bucket, so we'd probably be writing a separate check for that. Okay. And then as a result of their different recruitment options, we'd hopefully get a nice pool of candidates. And at that point, we would consider forming a screening committee outside of this group here to start actually looking at the candidates. One of the things that we found with New England School Development Council and certainly with MASC is the level of their involvement as we go through the whole process. And I think as a subcommittee, I can say that we felt we'd probably get some more hand-holding and direct involvement from MASC, where he would physically be present for each of the events that we schedule. Whereas future management systems, they would tell us how to do it and perhaps help a little bit, but they're not going to be here unless we pay them extra.
What about the NESDEC?
That would be determined. Okay.
So that was a factor of the proposed dollar amount?
What we tried to do on this analysis is break it down exactly what was included, and then the stuff, everything else you can assume if it's not in their proposal,
It's additional.
it's additional.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I guess my question was at what rate?
Right.
You know what I mean?
right,
And I think
right.
that's where I'd be
Yeah.
kind of hard pressed to kind of know what that looks like.
What that rate
So
is.
it's
Yeah.
for consideration.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Do you know if, because of NESD, do you know if those former superintendents, was it mentioned if any of them are still very much involved in the Massachusetts Association of Superintendents?
Not specifically.
Not specifically,
Not
okay.
specifically, no.
All right.
Anybody else want to jump in with questions or comments, or did I leave anything out, subcommittee members?
Do you want to talk the decision that we've, or the, come
Sure.
up with, and then we
I
can
think-
discuss why
yeah,
we...
at this point, I think it's appropriate for to say, as a subcommittee, we feel comfortable recommending that we go with MASC. I think there was a certain level of comfort with Mr. Gilbert, who's been before us a couple of times, the level of service that we will get from them. They are an organization specifically for school committees, so they are here to provide us service and advice. We thought we'd be in pretty good hands with them, making sure that we were on the right track, that we were doing everything in the process that we were meant to do it in. Go ahead.
One of the things for us specifically too was we went through, at least I did, we kind of discussed that pros and cons of each, and to be brutally honest, future management was out pretty quickly. We were really going between NESDEC and MASC. Some of the pros of NESDEC was we liked the fact that they had other administration superintendents, but on the other side of the coin, MASC knows Wilmington. They kind of know what we need, and that was really, I think, one of the guiding factors. And we had Paul at our meetings also, and he basically, you know, told us at the meetings as he looked through it. I mean, they're both pretty comparable as far as what they're going to end up costing in the end as far as financially goes. But we just felt that MASC had stronger pros in the end than NESDEC did.
Just to kind of follow what Dr. Quick said, and we're all kind of on the same page on this. We thought that NESDEC and MASC were pretty comparable as far as financial goes. MASC is just a little bit less. I think at the end of the day, it was more about the level of involvement with each of them, and we felt that MASC would be more involved, more of a personal, I guess, touch to it. Mr. Gilbert has that familiarity with Wilmington and the school system, and being here a few times and guiding us through different processes. And I think that we felt that as far as someone guiding us, he would be involved personally in being in all the meetings. We felt that with NESDEC it would be more of a consultant type of working with us and putting us through the process, giving us the process, but we'd be doing a lot of the legwork as well. So that was one of my reasons for going with that decision, I think, for the rest of us as well. So.
Can I ask you a question? what they're currently working with,
Mhm.
knowing that there are, at this time, the last I heard was 38 school districts looking for superintendents. If we accept MASC's bid, could we put I don't know what the right word is, a limit as to them assisting any other school district within a certain perimeter around our
Kind of a non-compete.
non-compete piece? Because that would be something that I'd be interested in, because what gets me nervous is others not public yet. So similar to what we've just incurred and we've just started, I don't want to use the same person that, if somebody else within, I don't know, 20 mile, I don't know what's a reasonable mileage piece, we'll be looking at MASC. I mean, I don't know how that works out.
I think it's something very valid, and I think it's reasonable of us to ask that.
Yes.
I can tell you, based on the proposal itself, Mike Gilbert would be our point of contact, and he said at this point, he is not working with any of these others that they have listed, other than being a backup. So I think the way they break it down is by their districts that they're assigned to.
I know Mike has a region that he covers, and so that's I guess the concern
Right.
per se is, because we don't want to, Mike is one of the, from what you spoke to, is one of our driving forces, because he is so well acquainted with our needs as being a smaller than typical district, and I just don't want to risk him being pulled off because he's addressing somebody else's, another school committee with the same search. Because we do have Linfield, that's not very far away, currently undergoing another search.
Yeah.
And there's certain things you can't predict, but if we, like to see some type of control so there'd be a no competitive.
And one of the things we discussed as a subcommittee is what happens if we've got a candidate that we're strongly interested in, but that person's probably looking at other districts at the same time, and what happens if the person we're paying to help us assist in the search is also working with that individual. So, yeah, if there's any sort of conflict, that we'd want to be able to control it as much as possible. I don't know what their answer to that would be, other than I think it's reasonable for us to ask.
I would agree, and I think before we go to a vote, I think I'd like to see what they say and whether it'd be a good risk or not in that respect.
So, you said that Tewksbury chose NESDEC. Did you ask them why they didn't choose?
We did. They ended up using MASC as their technical assistance, but they paid a fee to NESDEC.
Okay, but they didn't say, why didn't
They
they
didn't
pick
give us a real
MASC?
specific, this is why we chose them versus them. They told us exactly what they did for them and how pleased they were with the results.
And, so Waltham used MASC? And when was that?
2 years ago.
So, and that
We
person
had,
said
yeah,
that-
it's one of my close friends. I had her come to one of our meetings, and she was on the head of that committee, and they were very happy with MASC, and they're very happy with their superintendent.
And, can I just ask? Yeah. Linfield is looking for a new person?
That superintendent has just been there for, the 3-year contract is running out, and he's going elsewhere.
Oh, yeah. And who chose him?
Sorry?
And who chose him?
Well,
By choice.
it was, I think it's I don't know, because that's all political,
No.
but you learn a lot at those conferences, I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm
gonna
sure.
say.
And I will say that MASC is providing technical assistance to Linfield in their
So
search.
they are involved, okay.
Yeah, they are involved on the technical side, which we could get without a fee, but
What do you mean by technical?
Putting together surveys and a lot of the,
Oh, just like electronic surveys?
whatever.
So not really advice, but just technical?
right, it's
Okay.
more process related.
Okay.
This is the steps, similar to what he did when he was here with us not too long ago, obviously more involved.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Okay.
I just want to respond to MJ's question. As far as the pool of candidates that are going to be on there, one of the things we talked about is no matter who you choose as a consultant, the pool is going to be the pool. It's going to be probably 90% of the same candidates, because everybody knows where the search is. If you're a candidate for superintendent, you're going to want to apply to every single opening that's out there to get it. It's going to be tough to get anybody to give you a non-compete, because if you're a candidate and you're working with a consultant or, let's say, a recruiter for any industry, and they have a non-compete that they can't work with another school, they're not going to go with you, so you're going to lose that talent. So that's why they don't do it. One thing we can ask is a non-disclosure, which is different from a non-compete, where you can talk to them and say, you know, we know you're working with other school systems, but you have to sign a non-disclosure. You can't discuss what our needs are, what we're doing with, and keep that separately. But to have a non-compete, what that's going to do is going to take the pool of candidates and shrink it down, because if you know that who you're working with can't work with another system, you're not going to really work with them. So that's going to be tough to do. And then the other thing too is one of the reasons why we made a decision, and we made it as quick as we did, is we really want to take a vote. We don't want to delay the process anymore because of the reason that there's so many openings out there. We really want to get started as soon as possible. So we really want to, our hope is that we can take a vote, and hopefully we can do that tonight. But the non-compete part is going to be a tough thing to get anyone to sign on to.
No, but that makes gives me a broader perspective, and that I was missing.
Yeah, we can have them sign a non-disclosure, and that's common, but a non-compete is really not very common on a case like this.
So, is the biggest
Thank you.
push for MASC that they would be more involved with it, with us in doing this? Is that the best, and is that what they did with Waltham? Like, did they kind of hold their hands through the whole thing, or?
Yes, that's one of the reasons.
Mhm.
We definitely felt, you know, we looked at this and said, okay, this is all new for us, okay? So we really need the guidance.
Right.
B, we're all busy people.
Mhm.
We do not have the time to be, you know, as we want to do the best job we possibly can with our busy schedules. So, you know, that was kind of the first push to get the consulting firm in the first place. Second of all, when we looked at them, NESDEC, there's a few places where we felt that that they may not do, you know, they might say, this is what you should do, but they really won't do it for us necessarily. At least that's what we got from, you know, from their proposal. With MASC, on the other hand, again, I think the biggest part of it was, yes, we called it the hand-holding a little bit, but that was a piece of it, but we really felt comfortable with the fact that, you know, because for me, the biggest, considering the fact that the two financials were pretty similar, you know, like I said, the big pro for NESDC was the various backgrounds, but really when it came down to it, for me, it was the fact that I really think that MASC and, you know, Mike Gilbert, he knows what we need. He knows exactly. He was the one who basically said, this is, you know, just that first meeting, he's like, you're going to need a superintendent who's good with new buildings, you're going to need this, you're going to need this, you know, and so I think he doesn't have to do I'm not saying that they're not going to do the background, but I don't think he has to delve in quite as much as another company would have to, because of the fact that he does have that knowledge of the town that I don't think other people would have. So for me, that was so it was, yes, to answer the question, yes, that was a big part of it, but it wasn't the whole part of it.
I'm sorry. A quick question regarding the selection process. Would Mike Gilbert also do a sort of like a pre-selection of candidates and like kind of go through as to what with what the needs we tell him that we're looking for? Will he pre-screen certain candidates before they come to us for an interview?
They're going to be pre-screened. We're still responsible as a district of vetting our own candidates, no matter who we choose. Whether
we make all decisions.
Yeah, we make all the decisions.
Well,
There will
what I'm
be.
saying is that, I mean, I'm sure there'll be candidates that might not meet our needs. Will they be already filtered out before they get to our level?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at, well, all right, just trying to, seem to have a little more bullets, it just might be more words.
And that's why I started with that one to the left. Yeah, it gets tricky when you're looking at 3 proposals, they're written very differently, so really it was an attempt to compare apples to apples, making sure that we really had a good handle on what was included or not included in terms of the fee that we could potentially pay. Any other?
Yeah, just want to say one more thing. Jenny asked about referrals. We had, for the Waltham school system, was someone that Dr. Quick knew that came in and talked to us for a good hour, and we just bombarded her with questions, with everything, and she answered every one of them, and, you know, she was very happy with the job that MASC did. She was satisfied with what she did. We also had Mr. Gilbert come in and talk to us before we even knew we were going to go with consultants, and he was kind enough to come in and talk to us about the jobs or about what their role was, but not just their role, any consultant. He even gave us the names of the companies that we got bids from. So it was pretty open and pretty transparent. And again, one of the reasons why we felt that, you know, it's one of the consultants we want to go with is just familiarity, and he was pretty open with us.
And I said it at a previous meeting, because I know Mike Gilbert is my go-to person when I need clarification on a variety of different things, and I just wanted to make sure, not that I have to say with regards to the thoroughness that, and I appreciate your time and involvement in this, I have no reservations in that aspect. I just want to make sure we're not, I'm not looking to spend any additional money that we don't have to, but in the other sense, I want to make sure that, and this is no disservice, and I probably am not going to articulate this as I'd like to, I just don't want to short ourselves in spite, you know. I'd like to try to, and as I think we're all in agreement, we want to make the right decision for the right candidate, in, you know, not be back at this 3 years from now kind of scenario, and I just wanted to.
From now, you never know. I mean, that's so.
Yeah.
But you're right.
I mean, but you can't predict the future, and so, you know. But thank you very much for your time and enjoying this. Did you want to, are we taking a vote tonight then?
That's what we'd like to do.
We would
We'd
like to.
Yes, so.
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
I think that I'm sitting in this chair. I will entertain a motion that we approve moving forward with MASC to be our service provider and helping us with our superintendent search.
I'll make a motion to move forward with MASC as our superintendent search provider.
Do we have a second? All right, by a show of hands, all those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. I think now I get to turn the meeting back over to Mrs. Kane.
Nice to have public participation. Thank you very much.
Any public comments? Yeah, but we can go back, so you have public.
I don't remember if that's my one or not. I think it is. It is, okay. Thank you.
I'm not saying this to be obnoxious in an obnoxious way, but you know that all these years I've been so involved with the school committee, and on this major thing, I can't be involved, and to sit back there and be like, and I just want to thank you all, because you went about this in such a professional manner, in such a great way. I feel like that I don't have to worry one bit about how this is going to go, and I really appreciate it. And for the people in the town who are watching, I'm sure they really appreciate the way that you've gone about this far, and I know things are going to go great here. So thank you very much. MJ and Julie and I had attended the conference, and so we just wanted to give you a quick little update on the MASS conference. So, MJ, did you want to start because of the
Delegation?
yeah.
Yeah, I will. I have to say, first and foremost, I went the year before. This year, they had some fantastic speakers that were just, I was just rolling. It was just such a great presentation by Michael Staver, who's one of the top 40 speakers in the country. He was fantastic in his humor and his discussion of leadership and what leadership actually is and how you become a great leader, as well as Jack Levin, who spoke of school violence and what it looks like in the country and what it all means, as well as there's a gentleman from the University of Virginia who spoke about leadership and how the Battle of Gettysburg, why it's one of the first chapters in history books is because the Battle of Gettysburg, he was a professor in the Civil War. It's still being taught today in curriculum because there's 10 valuable leadership lessons that can be learned from that battle. So I have to say I was very ecstatic and enthused by those presentations and quite wide awake. But further on to the resolutions, regarding Resolution 1 of funding for K through 12 student success, it carried with regards to the funding of lobbying before the state legislature for additional funding for homeless students and transporting them to their public schools. And they're going to lobby the state legislature, I think, for more Chapter 70 funding to aid districts in paying for that, because millions of dollars are put out every year with regards to homeless student transportation. With regards to Resolution 2 on the park assessment for readiness for college and career, there was Wichita School Committee member proposed an amendment which basically states, in addition to petitioning the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education to direct the Commissioner to allow sufficient time for educators to prepare students for a new testing system and for cities, towns, and school districts to secure appropriate and adequate technology services and devices to administer the park program. Wichita also added an amendment which carried stating that the mandated testing of the park will have a major potentially adverse effect on the school budgets of all communities required to take part of it. It will also have an effect on the time and learning of our students. Committees must be given adequate funding and time to budget and plan for such a major initiative. So basically what he carried that if park does go through, then we need to petition the legislators for appropriate funding for the technology as well as the training of staff and planning to get so all of our districts can get be adequately prepared for this testing piece. The teacher evaluation piece, with regards to it being an unfunded mandate, or I should say a grossly underfunded mandate. The rationale to that one was that MASC believes the failure increases the likelihood that this critical effort to improve teacher evaluations will therefore not succeed. The resolution will correct the deficiency, provide an improved career ladder for teachers, and decrease the trust gap that currently exists in the evaluation of teachers. They're going to lobby the increase of burden on student administrations to focus on the cost of these teacher evaluations and petition for funding for these mandated teacher evaluations. With regards to Resolution 4, the evaluation of the Commissioner of Education, I think we got, there was 136 delegates, and I think maybe 134. There was a loud roar of carried, of approval, and I think only 2 abstained. For what reasons, I do not know, other than maybe they might have connections to Commissioner Chesta. But everyone was in quite agreement with regards to having similar to the survey, having the commissioner be evaluated by peers, which makes up of school committees, superintendents, and things of that sort. So they're going to lobby for the Board of Commissioner of Department of Education to as well be evaluated in the same format our teachers are and our superintendents are. With regards to Resolution 5, which is a combination of things we voted on the previous year, there was some discussion of breaking down Resolution 5 into the 6 separate resolutions to readdress, and this is just to verify as to whether or not they want MASC to continue to lobby for what was voted on at our last delegate assembly. It was voted down that they did not want to break it apart and visit each and every resolution once again. This is where the resolution regarding healthcare and school districts billing to Medicare, and how that could impact. They did not want to revisit, so it was voted on again as one big resolution, and it was again carried as for MASC to continue to lobby for what they started last year. If you have any questions and specifics about it, please let me know. So that was basically it with regards to how the delegate assembly ran. And if you have any questions, just let me know if I'm not clear. So I was trying to condense it for y'all. Just as a little side note, Board of Education met again Tuesday, and regarding the park testing, and I read briefly the school committee member from Worcester. Her name is Tracy Novick, who attended, and basically what they voted on at the November meeting on Tuesday is that they will carry park as a 2-year pilot program. And there's some other things that were unclear with regards to what they meant. Comments were said, which they're meeting again in December to vote on another piece. Mrs. Kane, you might be able to fill in the gaps that I'm leaving out. But we see some resolution with regards to extending this pilot piece of park, yet there's still many unanswered questions that the Board of Education has not answered and have seemed to railroad, I should say overlooked, any of the concerns that have been stated by parents, superintendents, and school committee members who have attended these meetings. They kind of seem to gloss over it and not take into consideration, from what I understand, of the discussion of the Board of Education. So I've been rescheduled once again by Representative Gordon, but I have faith that we're going to meet after Thanksgiving, and I meet with Senator Tarr on Monday. Keep our fingers crossed that takes place, and we'll just going from there. So if anybody has any contributions or anything else that they think, well, I have their attention, I can discuss or speak to, please, I'm very well open. I might as well get them while I have them, so thank you.
That'd be great. And, we'll be able to get back to you on that.
Yeah,
if you have any.
you can email me with any.
Okay, thank you, that was great. Ms. Broussard, would you?
Sure. That was my first joint conference. And I have to tell you that some of the takeaways that I had, it was great for my education as a new school committee member. I attended a lot of the, I'll call them School Committee 101 panel discussions. I was able to take care of my charting the course requirements, banged that right out. But one of the things that struck me is that even if I take off my school committee member hat, that type of conference would have been appropriate for a parent to get educated on what's going on in the world of public education. I've been talking to my friends and other people I know in the community about what it was like and what I experienced, and there were some aha moments there. One of the biggest one was that I feel like Wilmington's in pretty good shape, hearing discussions and the questions that were asked, and I sat there and said to myself, geez, I think we already implemented that. I think we're good. So that was a good thing to take away from that, and I will echo Mrs. Burns' comment. The speakers were fabulous, absolutely fabulous, entertaining, educational. Jack Levin, although that was a really tough topic, he was talking about school shootings, very tough topic to listen to, but he presented the information in a way that was very interesting and very caring, very sensitive, and not taking it to the real dramatic state either, not making these people into celebrities either. So that was interesting. I found out my husband had him as a professor at Northeastern, so his class was very popular apparently.
What wasn't regarding the backseat stories that he was telling?
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Excellent. Thank you. Oh, yes, Dr. Quick.
Two other subcommittees. So first, we had, on November 13th, we had the
Oh,
school.
Dr. Quick, excuse me, can I interrupt you?
Uh-oh,
Not
yes.
to embarrass you, but I just wanted to add a little something.
Sure.
So this goes from the conference.
Oh,
Then we'll do the other two, sorry.
okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
These are things that I picked up for everybody. One of the good things about the conference is they always have, on the back of the, in the classrooms, they have informative tables for us. So there's 10 tips for school district leaders on effective community and media relations, and I figure we really could use this now. And the 3 pitfalls of all leaders: the need to be right, the need to be in control, the need to be all things to all people. Interesting. That was the Staver group, the Mike Staver that MJ mentioned. And this is a brief overview of what his message is. And I sent one to you two also. And then this whole other thing for the Mass Association of School Committees, the Guide to Media Interviews and Communicating with Constituents. While we're doing this search, Ms. Prasad, just to add to your
My plate?
your plate, you're such a good sport. But you, or in your discussion with your subcommittee, whoever would choose to be the person to speak to the media, there should be one person who speaks to the media if people start to call you about the search, superintendent search, and what's happening. You could designate one person to be able to talk to the media. And some of these, there's some really good ideas about it here, so that the message is getting out, that is the message that we want to get out. Okay, that'll be there. But I will say that every meeting, every one of these that I've gone to, we've had, so just as Ms. Prasad said, the information that you get, for me, what it is the collegiality, to see what other committees are doing, how they do things, how things are working in their communities, what's more important or more of an emphasis than in one place as opposed to another. And it's really, you're going from 8 in the morning till like 9 at night. And it's very, very tiring, but it's well worth it. So, and another year, if other people could go, and I think we'll still go, it would be worth your while. It's excellent. Okay.
All right. So, on November 13th, we had the School Health Advisory Council and Wellness Committee, and a few takeaways from the meeting. We are on the 6th year of the Essential School Health Services Grant, in which we were awarded $77,900. Yep, and because Wilmington is such a leader in this area, we're mentoring Burlington and Woburn in this area, so that's very exciting. School wellness, they had a school-based flu clinic October 28th, and they approximately gave out 225 doses were administered. Townwide flu clinic on November 2nd, they were a little disappointed at the low turnout on that. There will be actually that was the other day. They had an employee flu clinic. I don't know what the turnout was on that. That was on November 18th. They have a staff wellness program going, and so they have something called Walking Works, in which it's a town and school employee program. They have approximately 110 participants, and all I'm going to say is that everybody who was on the school, part of the school participants said that they were kicking the town's butt. Kicking the town's butt. And they had complimentary pedometers that were provided by Blue Cross Blue Shield to help them along, which is very nice. They also have a Weight Watchers program going with town and school employees. They have 2 sites available at the West and the Town Hall. And just one other thing, I thought this is very interesting because sometimes people may not notice these things, but Mary Palin from School Food Services mentioned that they're now having smoothies, I think only high school. I said, I'm dropping in. I said, I'm dropping in. And they do have a gluten-free menu selection now too, so so that was it, the big points from the School Health Advisory Council. And then just the other one, since we haven't had a school committee meeting until now, We had the Halloween Walk for WEF, and I am so pleased to say that we did the best we have in 5 years, and since we started it. The schools went all out. They did amazingly. They were just amazing. They had all the kids. I mean, my kid came home one day, he's like, Mom, you gotta give me your money because, we're third place and we need, so they just really, they had a little fun competition going. My daughter's all excited because the Woburn Street has no homework this week because they hit their goal. And so, they just we raised $20,000, give or take, $20,559.
Fantastic.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It beat all the years so
Wow.
far, so,
Yeah.
we really have the schools to thank for that, because they did an amazing job, they really did.
That's fantastic.
So, yep. And then
Cool.
again, don't forget, half of the money that each school raised goes directly back to the school to fund a current project that they need, so, just excited to say that.
That's wonderful news, yes. Okay, do we have any correspondence?
No, but I have another subcommittee, the policy meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were going to, okay. And
So I
do
just
we do
wanted to
policies?
just quickly, we're not gonna bring
Okay.
anything to the committee yet, but we talked about the food allergy policy, and we do have a list of recommendations that we will bring before the committee next time.
Great, okay. All right, were there any other subcommittees? We're moving along here on these subcommittees, that's excellent.
And no correspondence.
No correspondence, okay. Our future meeting dates and agenda items, December 11th would be our next meeting, and it starts at 6:30. We will have the policy that will be added to the agenda, but the majority of that meeting is our budget presentations. Okay, and then our next meeting after that would be the second week in January. So we'd be going into January for that. So that you'll know we only have one more meeting before the holidays. Okay. All right, I think that's it. Very good, productive meeting tonight. Thank you, everybody, for all the hard work you continue to do. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Mullis,
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
and second, everybody. Second, Mrs. Fornish. Okay, all those in favor, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you.